That was indeed very informative, Mr. Ondos. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and knowledge on that particular topic. So, at this juncture, you will learn more about the types of comparison, how they differ from each other, and of course, their definition. So, without further ado, let's start our discussion and sharing. Now, there are two types of comparison, namely the norm reference grading, and the second one is the criterion reference grading. So, let's first talk on what is norm reference all about. When we say norm reference grading, the performance of the students is evaluated relative to the performance of the other students within a group. So, meaning to say, ang performance daw sa isa ka estudyante is nakabase kung unsa pod ang performance sa ubang estudyante. Or shall we say, ang performance sa ubang learners is nakadepende kung unsa pod ang performance sa ubang learners. So, to further understand this, what we call norm reference grading, I have here a sample scenario. I believe tananta naka-experience on taking the NAT, or what we call the National Achievement Test. So, I think norm reference grading is being applied here appropriately since the scores of the students are being compared to the other students who also take the same test. So, makaingon jud ta nga ang performance daw sa isa ka estudyante is nakadepende pod kung unsa jud ang performance sa ubang students kay ang tanang scores nila will be gathered and that the result will probably tell them if they perform better or otherwise. So, that is what we call the norm reference grading. So, the next type of comparison is what we call the criterion reference grading. So when we say criterion reference grading, very opposite yun siya sa first type of comparison, which is the norm reference grading. Kay kung maingon mahutag, criterion reference grading, grades are based on measuring a student against a level of performance, not measuring a student against another student. Unlike sa first type of comparison, the performance of the student is nakadepende kung unsa ang performance sa ubang estudyante. So, very obvious yun ang ilahang difference. Kay ang criterion reference grading daw is na ay defined target for students to hit. And then afterwards, their progress will then be measured according to how close they come to hitting the target. This type of comparison is applied by providing students rubrics and scoring guides. With that, students will then be able to demonstrate their knowledge according to predetermined objectives. And not only that, this also promotes growth sa mga students instead of having unhealthy competitions among the other students. Excellent application in this type of comparison will be students taking summative tests. Through summative tests, makita gyud sa isa ka teacher o isa ka instructor or ma-determine nila ang level of understanding sa ilang students if they will be able to reach the set criteria or otherwise. So, that ends my discussion on the types of comparison. And may I call on Miss Kimberly Perla to continue the reporting? The stage is yours, Miss Kimberly.